This is the real-time acceleration of a Tesla Semi. That, on the left, the thing that looks like it's not moving is a diesel truck. Just gonna give it a moment. I'm sorry to bore you. I apologize. It's boring. I know. Eventually it'll get there. All right. Even with 80,000 pounds pulling max gross, getting 60 miles an hour in 20 seconds. That's what it can do. Now, what about up a hill? Okay. The best diesel trucks can only do 45 miles an hour up a 5% grade. Tesla Semi can do 65 miles an hour up to 5% grade.
Thanks for joining us once again. Today we're focused on 5 reasons why the Tesla Semi has 5,000 reservations when things like the Cybertruck had over 1 million reservations for those vehicles. And I think you'll find it helpful in terms of your command of what's going on with the Semi. Now, the clip we just showed you, Elon reviewed the fact that when you add up all the performance specs that the Tesla Semi has, in essence, it becomes the #1 vehicle in the world for heavy trucking, particularly when you're doing distribution centers into stores or things of that ilk. So today we wanted to look at these 5 components of why orders have been very slow to none for the Semi, and therefore Elon's eagerness to build has been impacted by that. So the first item to note is that we just had a Tesla insider inform us that the current price of the vehicle is closing on $500,000 per. So as you'll recall, in 2017, when Elon came forward with the vehicle, he was targeting a $250,000 price point. But even then, the Mercedes version of their electric truck was coming in at $400,000 a copy for primarily state buyers in California who were subsidizing the transition to electric because of the amount of pollution in the greater Los Angeles area. The number 4 reason why orders have been very slow is obviously Tesla's delays. There's a combination problem here because Tesla requires you to pay for the vehicle in its entirety within between 1 and 6 months of the reservation. So now you have all these companies that have to tie up a lot of capital in their vehicle registrations, and it's unknown when those vehicles will arrive. So therefore, a lot of people are placing orders to sort of reserve their slot, and it's a large enough commitment that they basically can't pull out. So they're being very cautious in what they're doing. The third reason why sales have been slow is that there is a Mexican standoff right now. What happened is that there's a whole question of, was it the chicken or the egg that came first? In this case, what we're focused on is the fact that the potential buyers for the Semi are saying, we need a charging network so that we don't have to endure the cost of building our own charging network, and therefore can just endure the cost, let's say $500,000 per truck. That's a little over double what they would have to pay for a regular diesel vehicle. And so now we have an interesting problem, because the challenge is that there's a lot of places that want to use these vehicles, but until there's charging available, they don't have the resources after paying for that truck to go ahead and build the charging themselves. So we're seeing a little bit of forward progress here because we do have some government mandates, and Elon has been able to secure some assistance as he's building a network that runs between Fremont all the way out to the Austin plant. So I think we'll get somewhat of a breakthrough here by the time the vehicles start becoming available at scale in 2026. Or they've said 2025, but the challenge is that the scale factory started at the beginning of 2024 and takes 2 years to build. So the most likely show up of these vehicles at scale is likely early 2026 at the earliest, which is confirmed. The next issue that's popping up right now is the primary reason that we actually ended up doing the show. The problem right now is when you watch Elon's presentation on the building out of the truck, he talks about all the performance specs that really make it a compelling purchase by anyone. The issue that pops up, though, is that after you spend $500,000, you have another challenge that you have to face, which is that, let's say you have 20 or 30 or 40 trucks. The way the ratios are working, it's about 20 trucks or so, let's call it 15 trucks per mega charger. And so if you have, let's say, Pepsi has 40 trucks and they're in 2 locations, or 40 trucks in Sacramento, 40 of them with Frito-Lay in Stockton, they're doing a set, let's call it 2 or 3 mega chargers in each spot. Not only did the state of California agree to subsidize and even pay for trucks to get this process going, but they've also been helpful in the payment for the cost of construction of the mega charger. And then this brings us to basically the number one reason why there are very slow sales of the Semi right now. Yes, you could argue that part of the problem is they're not available, and you would be right on that. The second part of the problem is the only places that this vehicle is selling in numbers or being used in numbers is actually in California initially, and we have a number of orders that are out for all manner of electric trucks in Greater Canada because they have at least a $70,000 subsidy that's provided, but we haven't seen what the numbers are in terms of subsidizing mega chargers. But what's seeming to happen right now is because of the obvious and hidden cost of the Semi, we're in the zone right now where pretty much the only people that can afford to deal with the Semi at scale is Tesla, because they make the mega chargers and they can offer themselves a nice discount as they transition into electric. And then the states or locations where there's a subsidy. And so the final and number one issue that we see with the Semi is something I call the 2% rule. So one of the entities that should be in the United States buying huge quantities of these trucks are actually grocery stores, because they have regular restocking routes from their warehouses into their grocery stores. And it's kind of an ideal setup for short-range trucks to reduce pollution as they do these daily runs to replenish supplies at grocery stores. The problem, though, with that is that the average grocery store that's not Walmart tends to have about a 2% margin that they're operating with. And when you're looking at $500,000 a truck and needing numerous of these, it's my belief that you end up wiping out the profit for that store in the process of the truck's purchase. I think that there are a number of people that watch our show that are in finance. I see a lot of you in the greater New York area, and we all know that there's something called leasing, so obviously you could go for leasing. But even if you lease a $500,000 vehicle, there's still a decent-sized line item there that carves into relatively small margins that go with grocery store ownership. The other thing you'll notice is that there's a company called Albertsons, which they bought Safeway, they've bought a whole bunch of other brands within the grocery sector, and they're nowhere to be seen when it comes to orders for the Semi, for the reasons we've covered in 5 through 2 here. So obviously the question is, what's going to happen? Well, what's going on right now is people are saying, well, look, if I have to meet my emissions goals and I can do it with hydrogen, that's simpler because I don't have to pay the fees that Tesla's talking about in order to get a vehicle in and operational and reduce the carbon footprint of the organization. So the answer is no, it is not better to switch to hydrogen per se, but the challenge is the way the costs roll out on the hydrogen side work better for a lot of people. So I expect that to be a stopgap on the way to us moving into low emissions construction of large numbers of semis. So the other question, that's still lurking out there is, will Elon end up building a charging network or 50? The route to Austin has, I believe, 25 locations that are stops, and therefore other folks can use that to charge. And so if Elon chooses to build that network, he can now start charging all of his customers for use of those facilities as a way to pay them off. And I think the finance supports that, where there are incremental payments being made for charging. One other side note that I think is lurking right now is that as we've talked about in other shows, there's a solenoid problem where if you let the trucks charge overnight or several hours, there's no issues with that. When they've been trying to do fairly rapid charge, they've actually seen solenoids blow up, and the facilities are shut down for 2 or 3 days until those can be replaced. So sort of our number one issue slightly lurks in the realm of range anxiety when it comes to the Semi, because if you get away from your facilities, there's no place to charge at any kind of speed. So the routes have to be fairly carefully planned to not run out of power. So we want to thank you for taking time to join us on this today. I want to now move over to our health tips. For this week, we actually have an interesting health tip cut. It's on Ozempic. So what happened is I actually ran into a family practitioner from Florida, and we covered a number of ways to maintain your health as you age. And one of the primary discussions was on Ozempic and whether it's a good idea. He said to me, the problem right now is the way it's being marketed. A lot of people are starting to say, I need to lose 5 or 10 pounds when it comes to a major event or going to the beach during the summer type of situation. And it's his belief that this is a really bad way to use Ozempic. And the reason is there are side effects that include cancer, potentially gastro issues. What he pointed out is the ideal use of an Ozempic type product, because there are other brands that are making it, is to simply, if you're 100 pounds overweight and at risk of type 2 diabetes, dropping your weight by the use of Ozempic is an excellent way to do it, because it's worth the risk, because otherwise you have the issues that you deal with diabetes. So I wanted to throw this out here today generally to you because I thought he raised some great points, and it's part of the health tips that we'll add to the bottom down here if you want to take a look. Just a reminder, don't forget your 20 leg lifts a day on each leg with a 5-pound weight. Also recommended is try our sleep strategy of at least 2 weeks, going to bed and waking up at the same time each day. Any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. Tschüss. Au revoir. Leith Road, Hodahata Strasse, Ni Hao Mao, Hambawa. And in Jamaica, we say, enough respect, wa good man. I'm ending today with a Rumi poem. In this case, both light and shadow are the dance of love.